Most Hollywood marriages do not survive fame. Most do not survive addiction. And almost none survive a life-altering diagnosis that changes everything overnight. But Tracy Pollan did not just survive all three, she leaned in. After nearly 4 decades together, she finally broke down exactly what has kept her marriage to Michael J. Fox alive. And honestly, the truth is more powerful than any rumor you have ever heard. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most quietly extraordinary love stories Hollywood has ever produced. But before there was a love story, there was a massive contrast. Michael and Tracy came from completely different worlds, and understanding that gap is essential to understanding why what they built together is so remarkable. Tracy grew up in a prominent, stable, and cultured New York family on Long Island, eventually making her way to New York City to pursue theater acting. She was thoughtful, grounded, and had an uncommon clarity about who she was. Michael, on the other hand, was the son of a Canadian military family, constantly moving throughout his childhood. He dropped out of high school at 18 and moved to Los Angeles with little money and enormous ambition. He hustled for auditions until a hit sitcom called Family Ties changed everything. By the time Tracy walked onto the set in 1985, Michael was already a global superstar. Back to the Future had just come out, and he was a self-described boy prince, with a fleet of luxury cars and endless movie offers. Off-screen, Tracy was not particularly impressed, later recalling that she thought Michael was kind of full of himself. But then, something shifted. Within 2 weeks of working together, Tracy's impression completely flipped. The cockiness melted away, revealing someone genuinely funny, surprisingly self-aware, and incredibly smart. Still, nothing romantic happened. Tracy was dating actor Kevin Bacon at the time, so she kept things entirely professional and moved on to other projects once her season wrapped. For a while, it looked like their story would begin and end on a television set in the mid-1980s. But if Tracy was not even impressed by him the first time they met, what was it about their second encounter that changed absolutely everything? Fate had other plans. In 1987, both Michael and Tracy were cast in the drama Bright Lights, Big City. By this point, Tracy's relationship with Kevin Bacon had ended, and Michael noticed almost immediately. They spent real time together on set, they laughed, and Michael finally asked her out. What followed was a courtship that moved quickly but felt completely right. Michael described it as a connection where you finally stop performing and start just being. He proposed on the day after Christmas in 1987, keeping it a total secret because they wanted something that belonged to them before it belonged to the world. They married in July 1988 in an intimate, outdoor ceremony in Vermont, blending their respective traditions. Michael was 26, and Tracy was 28. They were happy, successful, and building a life. So, what happened next that nearly tore all of it apart before it had barely begun? The early years of their marriage were genuinely happy, filled with the birth of their son, Sam, and Michael's thriving career. Then, in 1991, while filming Doc Hollywood, Michael noticed a slight, involuntary twitch in his left pinky finger. He was only 29 years old and assumed it was just a pinched nerve. It was not. The diagnosis came back as early-onset Parkinson's disease, a degenerative neurological condition with no cure. He came home and told Tracy the same day, expecting the worst. But what happened next, nobody expected. There was no panic, no crying, and no hesitation. Tracy simply reminded him of their vows, in sickness and in health. She told him he had a stone in his shoe, and that they would do what they could until he could get it out, and if he had to limp, he could just hold her hand. Michael kept the diagnosis entirely secret from the public for 7 years, quietly managing his worsening condition while maintaining his superstar image. Tracy never flinched in public. But what nobody was talking about was the destructive battle happening behind closed doors, and it had nothing to do with Parkinson's. Here is the part of the story that does not get told often enough. Michael's initial response to his diagnosis was not courage. He turned heavily to alcohol to numb his fear, drinking alone every single day. He was performing normalcy in public while privately coming undone. Tracy saw all of it. Eventually, she decided that being supportive did not mean staying silent. She confronted him, looking him in the eye and asking, "Is this what you want? Is this what you want to be?" It was a blunt challenge delivered with pure love, and it worked. Michael entered recovery, went to therapy, and stopped trying to outrun his reality. Meanwhile, their family grew with the birth of twin daughters in 1995, and a fourth child in 2001. Tracy spent a decade managing a large family while supporting a husband navigating addiction recovery and a secret illness, all without any public acknowledgement. Finally, in 1998, Michael decided it was time to go public, but the announcement sent shockwaves through the world. After revealing his diagnosis, Michael left his hit show Spin City and launched the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. He walked away from the peak of his acting career to build what is now the largest nonprofit funder of Parkinson's research in the world. Tracy was never a passive bystander. She joined the board, becoming a vocal advocate for families and caregivers. She openly admitted that living with the disease is incredibly difficult, but credited Michael's relaxed, accepting attitude for making it manageable for the whole family. The foundation was saving lives, and the family was thriving. But then, Michael said something in an interview that stopped people cold, and most of them completely misunderstood it. During a candid interview, Michael stated that Tracy has a life separate and apart from him having Parkinson's, and separate from him being a celebrity. Out of context, that might sound like distance in a marriage. But look closer, and you realize it is the exact reason they survived. Tracy never allowed herself to be entirely absorbed into the role of a caregiver or a celebrity wife. She maintained her own identity, her own friendships, and her own sense of self. She knew exactly when to step in and when to step back, offering practical, intentional love rather than performative sacrifice. While Tracy was naturally inclined to worry about the future, Michael's fierce optimism helped balance her out over the decades. They had figured out the independence, the family, and the foundation. But when Tracy was finally asked point-blank what the actual secret to their marriage was, what did she say? Her answer was beautifully simple. She revealed that they just take it one day at a time. They never tried to solve the next 10 years all at once, they just focused on getting through today, trusting that thousands of ordinary, faithful decisions would eventually add up to an extraordinary marriage. She also credited real, deep listening as their saving grace. This advice is not a hollow platitude when it comes from a woman who lived it through fame, addiction, and a chronic illness. Decades later, at the 2026 Actor Awards, Michael made a surprise appearance that brought the room to its feet, beautifully calling Tracy his greatest gift. For their 36th anniversary, Michael posted a photo captioning it, "The love of a lifetime," to which Tracy replied, "Same spot, different year." That is the whole story right there. What they built is not a Hollywood fairy tale. It is something harder, more real, and far more impressive. It held because two people kept choosing each other, day after day, for nearly 40 years. Tracy did not reveal a dramatic scandal. She revealed something much rarer: quiet, unbreakable steadiness. If this story hits differently than you expected, that is the point, because the real ones always do. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and drop a comment below telling us which celebrity couple you think has the most underrated love story in Hollywood.